Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope everyone had lunch already. Just to join Kat and I here with our webinar, How to Become a Professional in Accounting. And the topic today is Maximize Your Success in Accounting. We have here today Kat as our host. Thank you so much, Kat, for taking your time just to be here with us. Accounting students send us some questions in regards to, accounting. And we are here today just to ask questions to Kat. And I hope that will help our students to prepare the mind and the career plan to become successful in accounting. Before I start, I just would like to say thank you again, Kat, for being here. And I would like you to introduce yourself to us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Juliana, and everyone else on the call. Thank you very much for having me. A little bit about myself. I've worked in finance and accounting roles for the last 15 years. So I've worked for a number of organisations. I've worked for top 100 corporates in Australia, such as CSR, which was very interesting down at the time, in senior accounting and finance roles down there. I've worked up in big GOC, so government-owned organisations in Queensland, which is also very interesting in the energy industry. In the last 5 years, I've purchased my own accounting firm, so now I work in the public sector, which is very, very different to corporate accounting. So now I specialise in a lot of tax and public practice accounting. So very, very interesting, very different field of work from what I did before in the corporate and government world. So very broad spectrum accounting. There's a lot of different avenues that you can undertake. There's a lot of different avenues that you can undertake to work in the accounting fields. That's a little bit about me.
Oh my God, that's a lot. How do you find time for yourself? Do you enjoy being around numbers all the time?
Yes, it is very interesting. I think some people have a bent for numbers. So if that's something that you like to do, then you'll definitely enjoy working in the accounting world.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And Kat, for our students who are just studying the Bachelor in Accounting at the moment, or they are studying the Master degree in Accounting, what do you consider the top 3 skills to be a great accountant?
So probably the top 3 skills that I would look at is one, being detail oriented. That's very, very important for any accountant to focus on. I think one of the biggest things for anyone is to be detail oriented. You need to be able to not just have big picture, but be able to look at every single, work out where every dollar is going to, every cent is going to. You need to really be able to be focused on being detail oriented. That's the biggest thing. The second thing would be communication. You need to be able to communicate to all stakeholders, whether that's a client, whether that's your manager, whether that is another internal stakeholder, such as a different department. When you're working in accounting, there's going to be definitely communication, because you will have multiple stakeholders that everyone needs to be able to talk to. So you need to be able to communicate on all different levels and with different communication styles. Very, very important. The last thing I would say is you need to be able to problem solve. Being accountants, quite often you are given a problem to solve and you need to be able to figure out a solution. You can't just go back to someone and say, well, I don't know, there's a problem. You have to be able to go, okay, well, this is what I think the potential solutions are. And wherever you work, whether it's public practice or the corporate world, there are always going to be issues that you need to be able to sit down, and it won't be pure accounting work necessarily, but you need to be able to think outside the box and determine a solution for your manager or your client.
Yeah, it's not just about the numbers. You need to, be proactive and just talk to clients in a professional manner that, you can solve the problem. Yeah, it's very important, definitely. And after completing the degree, so how can I find a job in account field after complete our degree? So how students can start approaching business? What do you think that they need to do?
Okay, so after you complete your degree, there's definitely a lot of things you can do to try and get into the accounting field. One, it is a very tough environment at the moment, obviously with everything that's going on. So working as an accountant is probably going to be a little bit tougher than maybe if you graduated a couple of years ago, but there are still things you can do because everyone needs an accountant. I would have a look at maybe doing some additional courses such as the free Xero or QuickBooks or MyOb courses, because that will give you an automatic edge if you're already Xero certified, MyOb certified or QuickBooks certified. A lot of those courses are free as well, so you don't even have to pay for them. They will just cost you in time. The other thing that I would look at doing is if you wanted to get into a tax field, maybe actually pay to do a tax course, such as what ITP or H&R Block do every year. They're a few $100s. They will give you a very, very solid understanding if you wanted to work into a tax field. And once you've got those courses behind you, people in public practice will look at that and go, okay, you might want to be, you've got more than just the basics in accounting, because what gives you, what you get in an accounting degree is not always what actually translates to real life work. The other thing I would look at is whether you wanted to go in through a different angle. So maybe if you wanted to do something like payroll, try and get in through a payroll sort of thing and do a payroll course, because quite often payroll people then end up moving to different areas of the shared services and become accountants like that. The other really, really good one is a very good way of getting it is becoming a bookkeeper. Surprisingly, bookkeepers can actually earn more than accountants in Australia. A lot of bookkeepers earn about $50 an hour. So if you did one of those other courses and then became like a bookkeeper, you could actually work for a private sort of company. Instead of being the company accountant, you could be the company bookkeeper, which typically has a lot of crossover. It just means you might not necessarily do some of the BAS or some of the end of year financials. But it is definitely an easier way to get in. And especially in this economic environment, it might be easier because people are more likely to take on a bookkeeper than an accountant sometimes. So it would be an easier way to get around the system, but then still do the same types of things. And you'll get paid pretty much, a lot of the time, you'll get paid a very similar amount.
Definitely. As you said, I believe as well that it's important for them to focus on the area that they want at least to start, if it's as a bookkeeping or in a tax agent or just doing some payroll, and study and do those kind of course, not just do everything at the same time. Otherwise, a business won't know which direction this professional is at the moment as well. So it's important for you to have direction and at least start from somewhere, and then you can move forward in your career. So definitely that's a very good point. And what should I be doing now to allow for my future as an accountant to be successful? So as you said, those are the main focus that you believe that is studying the training and like do some certificate that would give them more skills and technical skills in accounting.
I think so. I think that's going to help the most is doing these additional courses, which just gives you an edge over someone else, because that way you've actually got some it's not exactly on the job experience, but it's more, like you said, it's a technical skill set, which you don't necessarily get at uni.
Yes.
So I would definitely recommend doing something like that.
Yeah. Can you see, students, listen to Kat. It's not just about your degree here. You know, it's very important when you come to Job Links and it tell you how important it's for you to have the technical skills, MyOb, Xero, QuickBooks. So it's very important for you to get successful in your career. And Kat, what do you think about the account sector now at the moment with all this crisis that we are living? So how do you think that our students or the account sector is going to survive now with all the situation?
Look, it is really, really tough at the moment. We're seeing in the big four firms, people are getting their pays cut by 20%. So in the accounting world, it is very, very tough at present. However, it's probably just a temporary sort of shortfall. Realistically, it will bounce back. It's just a sort of timing. So in the meantime, what I would say is definitely upskill anything that you possibly can. So do those courses, do Xero, do QuickBooks, because these are the ones that a lot of employers want at the moment. Go and focus on just getting some additional sort of soft skill communications. Work on email communication, because that's such a big one as well. So make sure that you know how to write a professional email. Make sure that you understand how to talk to different types of stakeholders. So maybe even just do some practicing at home with your friends. You know, talk as if you would to other accountants, practice doing just emails, like business emails, not just university emails. They're very, very different. The way you write an email in the business world or to a client is going to be very, very different to how you'd write an email to a friend or a year lecturer. So these are the types of things you already want to be able to be fit into a position where there's not as much, so nobody has to sit and train you as much. So you want all these basics there. You also want to have a look at just how you present yourself. You want to make sure that you understand how to present yourself in the corporate world, and that it does make a big difference, because if you meet a recruiter, you're only going to have limited amount of time to actually impact on them. Or if you meet, if you're going through a private company, you only have a very small amount of time. So you want to present yourself very professionally, and you want to look like, it sounds a bit silly, but you want to look like how people perceive accountants to look. So you want to look, sometimes it's a bit boring, but with, a proper t-shirt on. Also, not a t-shirt, you want a proper button-down shirt sometimes. You want closed-in shoes for a lot of the guys. But don't wear thongs, don't wear sandals necessarily, because people don't want to see that in their accountant. They want to have trust. And so some of it is by the clothes that you wear and your hairstyle and just being very, very neat.
Professional.
Yeah.
Definitely. And would you recommend the students to become a CPA as well? So what is your thoughts about that?
So if you start looking on Seek and you just type in accountant roles in Australia, you'll actually see what the recruiters are looking for. And most of the time they are looking for either CPA or chartered accountants if you're going to work in sort of the private practice. So it would be something, once you finish your master's or your bachelor's, definitely go and get that as a qualification. If you're working in public practice, you can also get one called IPA, which is the Institute of Public Accountants as well. So all three are exactly the same under Australian legislation, but recruiters typically in the corporate world want either a CPA or a CA sort of qualification. I would definitely recommend doing one of those two, because it's not that you need it for a role, it's just that recruiters quite often, without having that, won't put you forward for a role. So you will need to get one at some stage. And to get into the higher levels of sort of senior finance, you will need to have a chartered or a CPA sort of accounting one. The master's is very, very good, and I would strongly recommend that everyone finalises their master's as well, but you will need a professional qualification, because it's very, very easy for them recruiters to tick that box and say, okay, they have that qualification. It's more for the recruiters. So definitely enroll in those programs and start that. At least that will help get you just above someone else, if you can say you're enrolled in the program.
Yeah, definitely. If you were pick a graduate student right now, what is the main skills that you would look after that? What is the main skills that is necessary that you would say cannot miss on your resume in terms of technical skills and one soft skills? That's what would be the top one.
The soft skills, communication. You have to say you're a good communicator. You have good verbal and written skills. That's what everyone wants to see from a soft skill. They also want to know that you're a team player, that you can work independently as well. So you need to be able to say to people, yes, you can work as a member of a team, but if you have an independent task, you're more than happy to work on your own. People need to know these things. Managers want to know this. In regards to technical skills, they want to know that you have got the degree or the qualification. They want to know that you have enrolled in a CPA, CA or IPA course. And I would say that they probably want to know that you've done maybe one of the Xero or the QuickBooks, because it shows that you're doing a bit extra. And in these types of environments, you need to just be a cut above everyone else to sort of even get your foot in the door. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend just doing some of these smallest courses. And there's a lot of them out there that are free, so you don't even have to pay for them.
It is. So my questions here are done, but I will leave any of our guests here who are joining the meeting. If you have any particular question to Kat, feel free just to ask now or never, because this is the only chance that we are having now. Anyone has any questions for Kat? What have been the biggest achievement in your career?
Probably the biggest achievement for me was to actually run my own accounting practice. So it's very, I don't know what I'd say, it's very cool being able to do that. Like, you get to be your own boss. There is a lot of responsibility. There is small business is very, very hard. Don't let anyone tell you that you're going to get a work-life balance, because you really don't. But the flexibility you will get is absolutely amazing. So I've absolutely enjoyed it. I also do some, I'm very, very lucky in the fact that I get to do consulting for other firms as well. So it does give you a lot more opportunity to do additional things that you won't get if you just take on a corporate role. But there's pros and cons, you know, in a corporate role, it's very much, you can do a 9 to 5 or, you know, a 9 to 7 or whatever. Sometimes they ask you to do a lot of extra hours, but you won't get as much flexibility as when you run your own practice. So that for me has been my biggest achievement.
If we move to bookkeeping, is there any particular course or extra course you should have to help get clients? Also, being a bookkeeper, where do you get clients?
So a lot of the time, if you have a look on Seek, quite often it'll just be like private companies are looking for bookkeepers. Like quite often they'll just advertise on Seek and say, we're looking for a bookkeeper. So start having a look on Seek and just see what pops up, because there's a lot of jobs for bookkeepers that pop up. The other thing I would say is get your Xero certification if you want to be a bookkeeper. It is free. And then they also put you on, if you get a Xero certification, a QuickBooks and a My certification, they'll actually put you on their website as a bookkeeper that, you know, Xero clients are looking to find someone, then they can just look through that list. So it is a little bit of time in the beginning, but that's how you can start getting out. Yeah.
Okay. How can JCUB students prepare for gain accounting internships and work experience? So I
think what Juliana does is very, very important, how she actually tries to place you with an accounting practice. If you can get on-the-job experience, that's definitely going to be the best type of experience, because what you do learn in an accounting degree is very, very different to actually being on the job. Like it's worlds apart, really. Like there are some, the theory behind it makes a lot more sense once you've done the accounting, but what you actually do on the job is still very different. So if you can manage to get any sort of internship or just a little bit of traineeship, and just even try and find a mentor that works in the sort of public practice, I think very helpful. Also, if you enroll, I'm pretty sure it's definitely the CPA one, I think you actually get given a mentor as well. You can request a mentor for someone else to help you sort of through that journey.
Because I'm just going to say my point of view here. So I think everyone deserves a chance, you know. And when you are finishing your degree, you never probably worked in the account field before. But if an employer see that you have at least understanding about the technical skills, you have studied, you have researched, you have done something on your own for you to become a professional, they will say, all right, I know that you never work, but at least you educate yourself in different courses, not just a degree. And why not? Maybe it's an opportunity that I can give for an interview for you to tell me about, you know, what you have learned through these certifications that you did. And I think this is the way that students can be prepared to get a good internship and a work experience. It's just to prepare themselves before for these 2 years that they are studying here with us, and become ready for the job market. Yeah, I'm putting my point of view here. Another one, Kat, what advice would you give our younger self when you first finished university and you were looking for employment? I think
I think just don't give up. It's very, very hard. You're going to get a lot of rejections, but that's very, very normal. So put in as many applications as you can, tailor them to every sort of job. And it's just a numbers game. So don't get disheartened if you put in 10 applications and you don't get anything back. That's very, very normal. Just keep applying for roles and one will come up at some point. It is just a numbers game.
Yes, I agree. What will be the best way to apply for an internal audit team in a company? And what skills you have for selection process to work as an audit?
As an auditor?
Yeah.
So if you want to work as an auditor as well, that's some different qualifications than just an accountant. So you will need to do some additional sort of auditing work. It is a different stream of accountancy. So it's a different, you've got multiple streams in the accountancy, like you've got taxation, you've got pure finance, treasury. Auditing is a very specialised one on its own. So for that one, I would probably, you're going to have to have a look at different auditing courses and maybe try and get into the insolvency sort of work, because there's always going to be a lot of work in insolvency. But definitely, you quite often they'll ask for more than just an accounting degree. They'll want additional sort of courses.
All right. And I wanted to be an accountant, but I don't know what field yet. What should I do?
That's pretty much, accounting is so broad. So it's very hard. Like, taxation is very, very interesting, but only if you enjoy sort of tax, and because tax can go across a lot of different legal stuff. So tax accountants and tax lawyers are very, very similar in a lot of things. Management accounting, very, very interesting as well, and you get quite paid quite well to be in that sort of management accounting stream. Financial accounting is where a lot of people start off. It doesn't pay as well because it's what's happened afterwards. So you're basically just putting the items in on the P&L and the balance sheet. You're not talking about what's happened in the future. So management accounting is probably where you're more likely to have a growth in the future, just for the sheer fact that that's where we can offer like value add as accountants. Whereas, because things are becoming more and more automated now, financial reporting and accounting, a lot of IT systems are doing exactly what we sort of did as accountants previously, because everything's so automated. So I would probably try and get more into the management accounting sort of side of things. But again, it really depends on what you enjoy. Like, there's a multitude of streams out there, so maybe try a few things out and see what you like.
This is my question. For a student that never worked in accounting before, they just studied the bachelor and then came for the master degree, which field would you recommend that would be the easiest way for them to start the professional career in account, that they could be in touch to understand more about, the environment and the sector?
Yeah. Again, probably, if you can't manage to get in as a corporate accountant, try and get in as a bookkeeper or someone in shared services or payroll. Now, there's a lot of issues in Australian payroll at the moment, so I think that's going to be a real growth industry for accountants. At the moment, they don't really require accountants in payroll, but I've got a feeling that may change because of all these huge stuff-ups. Australia is very, very complicated in its fair work and industrial relations, so I think that's going to be a growth industry, and you're going to need to have more and more qualifications. So if you could specialise in something like in payroll, because that also encompasses shared services, which is quite a big group in any sort of big corporate, or again, the bookkeeping sort of services. There's always a lot of bookkeepers out there, and every private company seems to have at least one bookkeeper. So yeah, big industry there.
Okay. As a professional accountant, can I work overseas with that experience? I wanted to work in few countries.
I think you can, but every country is different. So from a tax perspective, our tax laws in Australia are completely different to tax laws in New Zealand, America, the UK, Europe. So what you'd want to do is make sure that you understand like your IFRS, so your financial reporting standards, because that's pretty consistent across the world. So you'd really want to understand and bed those down so you could take that particular skill set, because the way everything's interpreted is becoming more and more standardized across most of the world. America runs its own accounting sort of practices, so I don't know if there's as much crossover, but definitely if you really concentrated on learning all your IFRS sort of legislation, then you probably could work as an accountant in different countries. Also, if you are a member of the IPA, they have a cross one with the Institute of Financial Accountants in the UK as well. So you can actually, you're already a UK accountant sort of qualification. So there is that crossover there.
All right. I think we have all the questions, and I hope that you students who are watching this webinar today can get a little bit of what Kat just said and start, work on your career. And if you want, you know where to find me here on Job Links Post to start working on that. So I just wanted to say again a huge thank you to Kat for taking your time, just to be here with us and giving the assistance and your advice in account for our students. We really appreciate that. We don't know how to say thank on behalf of James Cook and on behalf of me. And I hope that everyone have a good afternoon, or who didn't have lunch yet can have your time. And that's it for today. Thank you so much, Kat. It was a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time as well. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.